Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the Liongard CEO Roundtable. In this webinar, we'll be discussing how to build cyber resilience with Cork and ShowTech solutions. I'm Vincent Tran. I'm the CMO and co-founder of Liongard, and I'll be your moderator today. And thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. Some quick housekeeping items. Feel free to use the chat function to submit questions and comments as we go along. It's good to have your participation. And if you have any questions that you really want the panelists to address, feel free to add them into the chat panel as well. Sean is working fiercely in the background there to keep to share questions to us and keep us on track. The webinar is being recorded, so we'll send out a link to a page that you can share with your colleagues or rewatch. So let's get started. It's my honor to introduce our esteemed panel of CEOs today, starting with Michelle Accardi, who is our Liongard's CEO, and brings with her decades of experience in growing MSPs and technology companies. She recently took on the role to take us to the next level when Liongard's other co-founder, Joe Alapat, passed on the baton to her last April. It feels like you've been here for years. So
Yeah,
it's great.
it's great. It's a great team. So happy.
Yes. So prior to joining Liongard, she was CEO of Logically, a $105 million MSP and one of the nation's largest cyber-focused MSPs. And before that, she led Star to Star as president and CRO. She is the driving force behind our laser focus on cyber resiliency and driving growth and profit and sanity for our MSP partners. Glad to have you, Michelle.
Thanks, Ben.
We also have Carlson Choi, CEO of Cork, a leading provider of cyber warranties for MSPs. Carlson comes from a deep background in leading digital and marketing teams throughout his career. Prior to being CEO of Cork, he was the chief digital officer at Datto, which many of you might be familiar with. His diverse background brings a unique perspective into what MSPs in the MSPs and MSP channel needs in order to thrive in the future. It's great to have you here, Carlson.
Thank you. Looking forward to a fun session.
Awesome. And we also have the distinct pleasure of introducing Carrie Showalter, founder and CEO of ShowTech Solutions, an MSP based out of the heart of Tampa Bay and is serving businesses in Florida and the Southeast US. Carrie founded ShowTech in 2010 to provide small businesses and entrepreneurs with enterprise-grade 24/7 by 365 support. You still have all your hair, which is amazing, to be honest, and to solve the challenging tech needs that businesses need today. Carrie and his team delivers personalized, cost-effective, and practical solutions for the diverse needs of each client. Great to have you here, Carrie.
I know the key. I know the secret to Carrie's having hair. He has Cork and Liongard.
Oh, nice.
You dropped
That's
the
a
mic
good
too
one.
soon. Where is it?
Welcome,
any question, we're done here. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. So on to the topic of discussion today. We've gathered this group to discuss real-world examples on how MSPs can proactively respond to cyber risks and secure the attack surface. The modern cyber threat landscape continues to expand at an exponential clip, and the ability for IT teams to keep up with the growing attack surface is at the very least very challenging, I would say. So on the cusp of the pandemic, not only are customers highly distributed with work from anywhere, but their data is highly distributed across countless devices, networks, SaaS solutions, and cloud platforms. So as of late, there's been a number of high-profile social engineering incidents, like from MGM to Caesars to the Hong Kong firm that was defrauded out of $25 million through a deepfake AI video, and the Move It data breach, right? So their software vulnerabilities was exploited, and thousands of business individuals are impacted. So the probability of a cyber event has become higher and higher. And Joe likes to call it the arc of death. And I don't know, we can come up with a better term, but we're seeing it as many traditional cybersecurity firms that used to be focused on just vulnerabilities and post-breach recovery and remediation are moving left of boom, right? And from Liongard's perspective, that's where we've always been, focusing on enabling our MSP partners who oversee the gears and knobs that make IT work. For us, it's always been about the boring blocking and tackling, the asset inventory, configuration management, change management, vulnerability management that MSPs are responsible for to truly prevent these incidents from happening in the first place. But I want to start with Michelle and kind of lay the groundwork as well. Why is it important for CEOs of businesses to start with, to work with MSPs and start thinking about cyber defense shifting left and building cyber resiliency with Liongard and other platforms?
Yeah, I think it starts with SMBs and mid-sized enterprises. There are so many risks. The attack surface area that is out there is growing at an enormous clip right now. So having the expertise on your teams to be able to do that, if you're a small business, you need to, there's just not a way that you're going to be able to tackle and climb that hill. So that's where I think really great MSPs who are security minded are such an important piece of this puzzle. And ultimately, what we're finding is that a lot of MSPs who I think have the right, they have their heart in the right place, but don't necessarily have the tech stack that they need to have all the visibility to what vulnerabilities are out there. And that's where I think Liongard comes in and where Cork comes in with regards to being able to give that capability to understand first, what are all your IT assets that you have to cover? What is that attack surface across all of these? It could be 10 to 100 systems or even more that need to get managed, and then and your users. How do you know what that attack surface is? And then how do you actually know that someone is taking care of it? Like, how do you have the proof point of that? And you as an MSP, how do you prove it to your customer that you're doing these things? Or how do you prove to your customer that they have to care about things like MFA, ensuring their managed backups run, ensuring that their domains are safe, all of these things. How do you prove to them? And that's really where Liongard has come in with our capabilities around creating a cyber risk, I like to call it command center, that enables you to really understand what that attack surface is and what your cyber posture is as a customer, and an MSP to be able to really show that in a very simple way that then you can even monetize. So that's what I think, why I think it's so important.
Definitely have eyes and visibility, so it's important. But like with what the expanding landscape is, do you, Carlson and Carrie, do you think that the incident today is inevitable? I mean, we hear a lot about ransomware, business email compromise, vastly more common because of social engineering. Is it a question of if, not when? Of when, not if.
You want to start?
You want to start, Kerry?
Absolutely.
You get the hand-to-hand battle every day.
That's it. No, I do believe an incident is inevitable. I do believe we need to be on the guard. And as an MSP and as the public, we read about all the big ones that happen, right? But an incident can be just a simple email compromise in a small business. It doesn't have to be MGM. It doesn't have to be anything else. And I think that when we go to businesses, they think of such the large aspect and the MGMs or the targets or whatever the new incident is. We try to explain to them on a smaller level that, it's not that people don't want your data. They do now. They really want your data as much because they can expand their footprint of trying to hack or infiltrate other people's information. So I do believe it is a question of when, not if.
I know I have those. I know, Carlson, you've got a lot to say about this, but I can tell you from when I was running an MSP, we saw it all the time. Who takes off MFA on an account because someone screams loud? Crypto miner comes in, runs an Azure bill up, I don't know, $300,000, $400,000. Cyber insurance doesn't want to pay because the controls weren't met. And that really, I think, enters the point of why Liongard exists and frankly, why Cork exists.
No, it's interesting, right? You add in, I think, especially what Carrie said, right? It's not a if, it's actually when, right? I think what's happening is it's interesting, right? Because news doesn't want to cover the $3,000 breach or $5,000 ransom because you got to remember, right? A lot of these back actor that we see it all the time is that in the dark web, they know who just bought an insurance policy. They know what policy limit you have. They're using that level of intel to be able to say, wait a minute, you know what? John over there in his, ice cream shop in that corner, he got a brand new policy, but guess what? His deductible is 10 grand. They're going to ransom him just slightly under that amount, right? In fact, this is actually a real story. My dentist, while he's working on my, with my new implant, which is not an interesting story to get into. He's talking, what should you do in cybersecurity? We're building this new way of providing small and medium business warranty. Oh, really? That's interesting. While he's ripping on my teeth, he's telling a story that he actually got ransom about like 2 weeks back. He's like, I wish you were there to tell me about this. And I go, well, I didn't really want to get my implant, get a new implant, but okay. But what he did was, in fact, he got ransom just for the exact amount of his deductible, $5,000. Locked down his entire environment. His MSP came in, small dental office. They're not going to have a lot of great background. They have just enough to get into place. A day gone by, they're trying to get things back up and running. Second day came by, he calls the insurance company. They're like, it's under the deductible. We can come in, investigate, and slow you down for a couple of days. He finally says, screw it. $5,000, unlocked the data and came back in. But you got to remember, that's not going to hit the media. You can even get the local newspaper, right? There's a lot of this. I think Michelle and I've seen this enough. The small and medium business getting affected every single day because what? There's not enough cash flow in his bank. It's like 2-3 days, $5,000 ticket. I got to get right back into my patients. Now I can rip across some teeth out, charge a big buck, But that's kind of fundamentally why we came back into the play when we started Cork. Say, look, where are the gaps for the channel business, right? We have a lot of great tools. We're looking at all different attack surface like Liongard. With Kerry and his team was really much security centric. But with those in mind, though, you're really only covering the left of boom, right? Boom being the attack, you're really covering the prevention side of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
What we don't have is the recovery side. What if you get to the other side of the equation? When, not if, you get popped? How do you make sure there's enough immediate data point to say, Kerry, there's something we need to work on right away, or for that matter, here's some cash that you can work with and close out that case within days, not months. And more importantly, how do you prevent it from happening ahead? And this is why a lot of the integration that we work with, especially Liongard, be able to say, hey, MSP, hey, end client, here's a check engine light. Better put some engine oil in there before it becomes an issue. It's a really interesting thing because, in the space I'm now in, never thought I'll be in the kind of the insurer space, financial coverage. The reality is that side of the world don't understand technology. They're learning about it, right? They're saying, oh, use this stack, you have to, but the way that the model work is not correlating to how do I help Kerry to be more successful at preventing them waiting to come into the play when something happens. So we kind of almost flip that equation around. So now you really much have a trifecta of perfection, right? You got Liongard driving that prevention tool set. Kerry and his team is really quarterbacking with the client, making sure things work. Then you also got Cork as kind of the background coverage, driving that prevention, the signal within Liongard. Oh, if it does happen, here's some get you the financial recovery, get you right back in the business. It's a really interesting, model that we kind of put together, but it's exactly what CEO need to be thinking about.
Yeah,
Well,
Michelle, I mean, Carlson and Kerry bring up a good point. I mean, in terms of the sizes of business that are impacted today, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're small or large, right? Building cyber resiliency. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it's more important if you're a small business because you don't have the boatloads of cash in the bank to be able to thwart what may happen and likely will at some point. It's why you have to, again, the best defense is a good offense. And that's where I think Liongard really comes in. I also think that, when you think about what an MSP can do for you and what an MSP is focused on, having the right policies and the right security posture in a small business is going to save you money in the long run around all the different things that you have to have in place, whether that's your insurance policy, whether that's your cyber warranty policy, whether that's your ability to provide great service to your own customers is all predicated on that you're doing all the right things on the IT side and in the business side of your house. And you can't be assured of that unless your MSP is driving that. So when I think about MSP business owners who are running, businesses that are focused on the small business, it's so imperative that you talk to your customers about, the risk of not having this good hygiene, I'll call it up front, because if you don't have this, you're going to churn customers in the end, because they're going to experience a problem and they're going to blame you. If you have to be, you will be the scapegoat in that scenario. So your ability to be prepared with the right tools and to bring a solution that is both left and right of boom together for your customers, that's cost effective, that's going to be a competitive differentiator for you to drive more revenue and drive more profit into your business as well, because you're not taking on the risk that small customer is giving to you if they're not if they're not security minded I'll call it the left of boom areas.
Carrie, what are you seeing? I mean, you're managing various sizes of businesses, and how are you looking to protect them?
So, as we try to protect, as the new items are coming out, whether it's an AI, right? Because we have to look at, can there be an AI now that does our copies our emails, let's say, and absolutely it can grammatically make the same mistakes. Oh, can we get one that records our voice? Of course we can. So now all those threats are becoming real living threats. As we go out to businesses, no matter what size they are, we try to explain all the threats that are coming at them now. And to tag on a little bit to what Carlson said, hey, we got a ransom, we're a little bit under their threshold or their deductible, excuse me. And it's not necessarily, we see that as much also, but when people don't pay the ransom or refuse to, right, we're going to release their data on the dark web. That is more of a threat to some of these smaller clients. They may have the money to pay it, but they're more terrified of losing their data or losing the confidence of some of their clients. As we deal with accounting firms, we deal with real estate firms, right? And some investment firms, right? If that list gets out, I mean, it's devastating to that business. They may not recover, whereas they might recover from a simple deductible. So what we actually kind of fear and talk to our clients about is they may not worry about your deductible. They may say it's $100,000. Doesn't matter if your deductible's $10,000 because they know the data that's out there that you have, and it's more of a risk for them to let go. So that's kind of the approach we've been taking a little bit. We're trying to push it and really kind of through the 365 as well. And we try to get them to really tack on and make sure that there's only one global administrator and we're not over administrating those types of things and giving people who do not need access. So we see a lot of that going on. So
yeah, Carlson, you touched on cyber insurance and the deductibles and the process and all the rigmarole that you have to go through to file a claim. How does Cork's cyber warranty versus cyber insurance fit together for one of Carrie's customers?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because it's always the myth that you get asked this question. Well, is a cyber warranty able to replace the cyber insurance? Are you against them? Are you fighting? No, they work complement together, right? I always use this analogy, so I'm assuming all of you have a car of some sort, right? And that vehicle that when you purchase, it comes with a warranty, right? Warranting the engine performance, performing against certain type of, failure, right? And then you buy, that's mostly of the first party level. Then you got car insurance that you purchase, right? In the case that you come in an accident, the car gets stolen. So if you take that same level analogy, really coming into the cyber service world that, Carrie and the team provide, it's identically the same. You think about that, thinking about, right? The cyber insurance cover third-party liability, the legal fees, third-party damages that involve there in case of an attack happen. Well, where the Cork cyber warranty comes in is really warranting the service and the performance of our platform integration into carrying this service, and so that he can say, hey guys, during this time, I can very quickly pay out and get you something. So now instead of Carrie become a ShowTech bank, right? When something goes wrong, he has to bank his client and say, let's put a parallel environment in place. I'm going to, use my tech hour to make sure you get back up and running. And at the end of that conversation and go, sorry, Sean, here's a bill for all the work, and having that awkward moment of conversation. Rather, right, we design in such a way that that payout, we have instant, resource that, a finance that Carrie and team can get to, boom, right away. He doesn't need to worry about having that conversation. And at the end of that, we will cover a lot of that portion. And what that does, it cover that gap, or so-called, becoming more like a gap coverage and partnering with the insurance side. So that way, in the end client, in their best case scenario, guess what? They have zero out of pocket. Everybody's happy getting everything running together. Now, some of the smaller medium business, my dentist, he's literally dropped his cyber insurance policy afterward because he said, what a waste of time, right? I just spent $5,000 on this. It's really, I'm paying his policy. In those scenarios, I think the warranty is really meant for, Carrie to be able to offer that competitive differentiator. We're going to get some of the best in class prevention tool in place. Hey, in the case, you don't believe in insurance, we're not advising you against not getting one, but here's something, at least my service, offer you some level of assurance of some sort of financial coverage in case it does get there. But I think this is kind of the uniqueness that we designed in this case. It's not meant to be a replacement in any form, but it's really meant to help to get the small business up and running, make sure the MSP gets paid, and most importantly, getting everybody back and be happy, right? At the end, now your likelihood of losing a client in an instant, it become much less. Rather, you now that, oh wow, this is great working with Carrie and his team. They have additional ability, not only the prevention aspect, but also helping us to recover in days. That's really how we design it and the difference.
I think the recovery perspective is super important. I think, Michelle, I mean, in terms of having Liongard and Cork to immediately resolve and get to action. I mean, I just got off the call with CJ and LinkedIn on the presentation about the ConnectWise and a Screen Connect issue, right? Folks are having to immediately respond to that, and the speed of response and remediation is super important. So how does Liongard and Cork work together to do that? And Carrie, if you can chime in afterwards, like have you had an opportunity to do that as well?
Well, first and foremost, one of the things, and I'll speak a little bit about Cork's platform along with Liongard. So one of the things why we wanted to partner with Cork was because they have the right mindset around you need to have that ounce of prevention, and they actually leverage Liongard in helping to, I'll call it, underwrite the cyber warranty. So they know that you're more secure because Liongard's there and your customer's more secure. And so when something happens, like the breach that happened with ConnectWise, the ability to have Liongard there to be able to find the vulnerability, to be able to run that report in a matter of minutes, to have all of where those vulnerabilities are at your fingertips so your NOC can take action. That's gold. I don't know, Carrie, I mean, is that helpful to you?
Oh, it is because, even though it's an MSP, we all think we're perfect. I know we all do. However, we're not. And we think we know what every asset we have and manage, but to have the report, and that's similar to what happened. So, we were unaware of a couple that had it on. Cork reached out because of Liongard. Here's the machines you need to look at, focus on. Here's a quick report. We may have had 10 machines or something we need to go look at immediately and make sure. So it was great. It was and that's a great example of what you guys do.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that the other benefit, I think, of having us together is, we've been talking about the preventative nature of what Liongard does, and then Cork to the right of boom, but there are some right of boom benefits of Liongard as well. So we keep an 18-month audit trail of everything. So that can be really helpful. Not just again not just for the purposes of, dealing with an incident, but, your customer may want to show your customer how things have changed in their environment over time. Maybe you want to do a price increase. Maybe you want your ability to show them, hey, your environment, your attack surface has really grown. Giving you the visibility and data around that is, I think, also a big win.
Yeah, it's invaluable to have that.
Yeah.
Well, it's this, right? When we're on that day when all this, screen connecting is going on, we made a lot of calls to, MSPs, including like Carrie. Some folks will say, you know what, this is unusual. Why would a company that put financial protection calling me about this. This has nothing to do with what they used to in a very siloed concept, right? Concept here is that you shouldn't have to wait for that call. Right? Usually, right? They call you when renewals annual fee is due, right? Or when something really gone wrong, but not when, by the way, there's something that we observe. You got to get ahead of it. This is really a very different type of company, right? And that's why, as we, as we get deeper with Liongard's partners, Liongard's got much deeper telemetry than anyone else out there. I think that gives us additional pieces to get further ahead. Because the best type of recovery is not to have to recover, right? You think about this. It's a weird thing to think about, right? To think about if we do it right together as a team, you should be able to minimize almost, I would use the word, carefully, because, I think that legal team, you can't use this word, but I think as a CEO, I would say eliminate, right? Eliminate is really the play. To eliminate, you really got to be good about what you're doing. Not only have the right tools in hand, having the right partner in hand driving it, but also importantly, having the right partner looking after you, looking ahead from the other side of the boom to say, by the way, we see indicator, your favorite sweater, you just pull a thread that's going to take this thing apart. That to us is kind of a very interesting, but we're still learning how the business works, right? We're still learning, but more importantly, is learning in the MSP space, having somebody in the driver's seat, like carrying the team to make it all happen, right?
Yeah. I'm curious. I mean, first of all, from Carrie, I mean, you've been with us as a partner for almost 5 years now, and shout out to Charles Love and over at the ShowTech team for choosing us and being a part of your stack. But as the years have gone by, the stack has changed. You've gone from technical advisor, trusted advisor on that side of things, to now what Carlson just brought up, financial advisors and discussions. How would you advise MSPs to have that discussions with their end customer?
Well, I do believe it really starts a couple steps back, right? You have to get to that trusted or favored or whatever term you want to use with the client before you can start talking doomsday scenarios, because they hear them, they read them, they don't really want to act on them. And other MSPs, the ones that may step in, and I'm not saying that's all, and go right at them with the doomsday, they're just like, hey, you're just trying to pad my bill. So once you get to the level where you can sit down and have a conversation, just like we do with all of our MSPs, or excuse me, our clients, and say, something is going to break in your environment. And it's how we take care of it, how we respond, and the people we have behind us to help fix and rectify the issue. So, when we look at a company like Liongard, right, that's our CYA group, right? Helps us manage our change. They've got lots of data points. We get triggers we set up. We get alerts. Tell us when changes happen in the client's environment, right? So then we're right on top of it. So that's what it is. So when we go out to sell, we sell with things like Liongard and follow with Cork and say, hey, we've got both sides of the boom, because something may happen and probably will. And don't be afraid about it. Let's protect us now. But I don't think you can have that conversation until you get to a certain level with a client.
Don't you think, Carrie, though, that when you start off, a relationship, I always found the best relationships that I had with customers was when I was bringing them on and I said, look, we have a minimum standard for security. And this is for us and it's for you. And if you don't want to be a part of that, that's okay. We can part friends and you'll find tons of MSPs that are willing to do what you want. But I actually care about your business and I care about mine too. And so my minimum is you're going to have an attack surface management platform like Liongard that's going to be able to monitor, is MFA on, is your domain and email health there, is EDR on your device, like, is going to give me that minimum level of capability. And here are the other things that, and by the way, again, when I ran my MSP, Cork was not yet around, but I was also offering cyber insurance or cyber warranty capabilities and requiring it, by the way, in my contract. So those are things that we did to make sure that we onboarded the right customers with the right mindset from day one.
Right. And I agree with that 100%. Right. So as an MSP or any business owner, you don't want to turn down business. However,
Mhm.
my goal, although to keep my hair, like you mentioned, is to sleep at night, right? So in order to sleep at night, with Liongard and Cork, they really helped me. You got to think back, just a few years ago, it was all about the backup. What backup we're going to have? We want to sleep at night. Now we have to have things like Liongard and Cork, and you do need to set minimums. So back to my comment, people don't like to turn away business, but in the long run, it's better for you as a business owner, better for an MSP to say, if you can't reach your minimum standard, and they can all vary a little bit, but they should surely have MFA on. They should have a platform like Liongard, right? And, Cork is a wonderful thing to have after, right? Along with their other items on there. But if they're not going to meet those minimums, it's just going to be a good fit for us, especially. And I do call on these MSPs. They should also start looking at that, because at some point that is going to be a problem, I feel, in our industry with insurance and things. They're going to say you didn't hold them to a minimum. So,
Yeah, no, you bring up a good
Yeah,
point.
I think I'll add that. I'll add the one additional piece to think about this, right? If you were to go out and spend your, hard-earned money, buy yourself a brand new vehicle, and you get an amazing driver that will drive you everywhere, right? So now you got your, and then to hear the fact is, if anything goes wrong with that service, you're not covered at all. You have zero financial coverage. That's a risk nobody wanted to take. I think that's a uniqueness. We're kind of, I think, Carrie putting this together. It's almost thinking of it as a cyber care package, right? There's a cyber care package for all its client, a certain level minimum. We're going to get you the best tools there for the prevention. We're going to have the best people, just like, Charles Love, will take good care of you to make sure everything is well dialed in. But in the one incident and thing happened, you're also going to get financially covered. You can get you right back up on your feet. When you think about that perspective, it's almost like in the consumer product world, nobody will say, "Oh, I just bought a TV that has no warranty whatsoever." You'd be like, "That's crazy not to have this." So I think this is where it was uniqueness. Now we're bringing the two world together. They're much more integrated. They're not independent, right? Because again, both sides of the equation are connected to the dot to make sure the environment is, underwritten with the data, the security perimeter that, Charles and Charles and Carrie put together for their client. To us, that's kind of how we think about it. It's really unique in the say it's nothing. It's not just yet another, oh, here's a financial product, just slap it on. No, it's a fully integrated package that makes it so unique. It becomes a, I call it kind of start using a cyber care package for the MSP for the client. It's getting to that level of uniqueness in my
It's
mind.
a competitive differentiator in my mind, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're offering this level of capability, ultimately, it becomes harder for competitors to touch you when you've got that level of right of boom and left of boom capabilities with a financial coverage around it, and at an affordable price. I think, again, that's really unique.
it is. It's very unique, and we do lead with that. Our top package, we just basically have two, includes all of that. And if somebody doesn't want that, we really start questioning, not on the Liongard side, on the Cork side, what are you doing, and are you really going to be a good client for us in the long run? So, and I think over the next 12 months, we'll probably get to one package, look for one type of client. We are an MSP that don't necessarily lead with budget. We're cognizant of people's budgets, don't get me wrong. But if you're so budget conscious, I may not be the right MSP for you, because we're going to go above and beyond. We're going to offer things like Liongard and Cork as our basic plan, because that's just the way to do good business.
Yeah. No, I ask a lot of our partners, you're probably getting a lot of insurance questionnaires that you're having to fill in on behalf of your customers, right? I mean, they're coming in on a regular basis. They're being required to have insurance to do business as a third party to somebody else, and now you're having to deal with that form. And you're seeing that requirement come in. Do we see a future where you require Cork and warranty and Liongard tax service in there as well?
Yes, I would think that is close. But I do want to clarify, although we see clients request to fill out these forms, we will not fill them out for them anymore. we will either take a copy
Yeah.
that we have, or we'll create a Word document and tell them the ones we're going to answer and put the answers out beside it. So we have a trail, because one of the bigger issues is that sometimes businesses aren't honest, and sometimes by omission just skip something, or they just made a mistake. And we want the point where we can go back and go, here's what we told them to fill out. And if it's our mistake, then so be it. But we won't fill them out anymore or give them access, to those types of things. They have to fill it out themselves. I just want to make that point clear.
Yeah.
One of the beautiful things about using Liongard, though, and Cork, is that you can say, here's the proof in that moment in time when you're filling out. We've actually, created metrics reports of here's the types of questions and the proof that you need. And then it's just, this is when you talk about documenting and not worrying about, did I answer this wrong? This is a way to avoid that. And then leveraging Cork, I mean, the fact that we're partnered together, they're leveraging that in being able to get you and your customer underwritten for the warranty.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll add this. Actually, Kiera, you're doing the smart thing, because the reality is, if you fill that form out, right? Remember, we talked about the trifecta, right? The trifecta side, the recovery side today, if it's a traditional financial coverage protection company, they taking I would say, when things hit the fan, they will go back to that form and say, Carrie, you remember you checked that box? Well, you used actually red ink, not blue ink. I mean, we've seen incident where when a form was not filled out, because if you read every single policy, it will say the state of which when you file that, obtain that policy has to be whole. If any fraction changes there, then they have the right to come in and say, this claim is fractionally claimed. So I think for us, when we look at that, this is where we find it's important. Like, what if we just underwriting purely based on your security stack? Because it answers all the questions, right? And I think it's smart for you not to write that, because the moment you sign it off, if something goes wrong, you're now legally liable because you are the party that will sign it. And that's something I always encourage MSP to ask, what should I do? I go, don't do it. Because you're going to be liable.
And here's a perfect example for Liongard, right? So if we get a client who for some reason decides they want to make a local administrator for a few days, we make them sign something. We also send a note out that says, please notify your cyber insurance company that you're changing this, because you've already said you don't have any local administrators. And we have the proof, because we use Liongard. We can go, here's where the change happened, here's the day, and we can make notes where it is, attach an email to it so we have it for our file. And then when it gets turned off, we can do the same thing. Now, whether our clients actually go through with notifying their insurance company, I don't know. That's what we do as part of our process as well.
Well, then in that particular case, I will take it further. In our underwriting architectures, we see those signal that's been changed. That should have been that will actually change your underwriting, right? Your underwriting rights. We would then probably typically we put a temporary pause on the coverage for that endpoint, knowing that you got somebody who got password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on a temporary basis, but the warranty around everything else is still effective. But what that does, it's also now changing the way that coverage has changed, because now all of a sudden the client is incentivized to make sure, okay, I better get this admin turned back off, right? Because now we can track the history. So now those endpoints will come back into the coverage. So it's a very unique way of making that additional step where instead of informing the insurance company, we're already tied in. Great. That by getting admin access, these endpoints are we temporarily not suspended when a coverage standpoint. If you get popped at that point, we know what you did. Everybody knows in the whole party. But once you release that admin, boom, it comes back online. That's the uniqueness of that integration, being the left and the right of boom, working together, not being decoupled, right? And no form by the way, if you want to fill out forms, we'd be happy to create a little video game that I have that history in video game business. People can go fill out forms and just for fun, right? But I think it's a kind of waste of everybody's time to doing it.
Well, it is, but I think it makes the client think of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Even though they're telling us what to do, we're trying to let them really think of what issues and what repercussions could happen.
Okay, but not trying to hijack the call. Just think about this, right? This is a fun story I tell my team. All right, the cyber environment is digital, right? It's changing every single second, right? With AI in place, it's changing faster than you can. Bad actors
Read
using
my
that
notes.
today,
You read my notes, Carlson.
right? I can see. I hijacked the call, like I said, right? But then you
Like,
go,
with
how crazy would you be using analog technology, a piece of paper, to underwrite a digital environment? It blows my mind.
Right.
It completely blows my mind.
Yeah, that's one of the questions I have the opportunity to ask a bunch of CEOs who are your job is to predict the future, right? In the next 5 years or so, with the attack landscape, attack surface happening with IT adoption, with AI, as you mentioned, Carrie and Carlson. I mean, what are you seeing in terms of us having to get ahead and building resilience for businesses?
Well, you know, I think, you know, again, going to AI, right? It's great. And it's great in a lot of ways, but it's going to be misused. The bad actors are going to misuse it. And it still comes back to a bit of the user knowledge, right? And for an MSP, we're going to have to figure out how to determine that it's really Vin talking to me versus AI, or Carlson writing me an email versus not. So the platforms are going to have to continue to get better left of boom and help this, right? Because it's still mainly a user exploited world. And we're just not going to be able to solve that. We can try to do all the education, we can do everything we can. But again, tools like yours, where somebody's changing something, changing the environment. And now, as you guys evolve, we're going to have to roll in. You're going to have to help us roll in how we can help prevent some of these things in AI world, because all of a sudden it becomes a mimic world, right? I mean, are you really talking to me today? It is, by the way, just kidding. But you know,
by the way, it's not really me here. This is AI fake of me.
That's a scary thought. That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
I mean, I tend to agree with Carrie. I mean, I think ultimately we are going to see, first of all, a requirement by different underwriting sources that they move from analog to digital. I think Cork's on the forefront of that. And I think that makes them really special. But I think you're going to see that happens across insurance. And ultimately, I think that customers, the end customer of the MSP's customer, is going to become smarter and going to say, I want to only do business with companies who meet certain security certifications because I'm concerned, and I want to make sure that they have insurance and such so that I'm protected as well. So I think that whole value chain moving left of boom is going to be one of the things that happens as part of this.
I agree 100%. Yeah. And I do believe there will be a time, kind of what you're saying, that MSPs and even the security ones are going to have to meet a certain standard, or insurance companies aren't going to underwrite or aren't going to do this. And you're going to have to look at your client base. And we have a managed set, and then we have some that are kind of license only. We did a lot of work for Microsoft on. And eventually I'm probably going to have to dump just the license only clients, because they, you know, came to us, but they don't need any other services. They think they've got them and they don't really want to listen to them. And, you know, they go, well, you know, we got Microsoft licensing. Our stuff's backed up. Why do we have to worry? They've got great threat protection. And they do, but it's not good enough. So.
Yeah, I'll add this. I think it's interesting. There's a couple of weeks back, I spoke at a cyber insurance industry. Strangely enough, I find myself in that space now, right? Speaking in the panel, like in the Bay Area. One of the biggest topics, exactly the ending question was exactly this: where do we see the next 5 years? And the folks we discussed on that panel was like, you know, they do absolutely believe that in general, the insurance industry are thinking about, yes, we need to be more technical. But the lens that they're looking is purely about, how do I partner with a specific technology to underwrite? What I mean by that is, right, Carrie, in order for you to buy this policy from me, you have to use this 5 technology. There's no other choices. If you're using Liongard's on the list, I'm not writing it. And I actually got in a pretty big debate with one of the folks that said, I think this is where we're approaching it incorrect, or not perfectly. You're doing it incremental, 1.1, not 2.0. 2.0 needs to be exactly what we're doing in Cork today, right? Being able to say, Kerry, bring your own security stack. You're on Liongard, it makes it easier for me because Liongard got every integration in place. If you don't, there is this required minimum you have to use, but it's a mixed stack environment. So now you can bring your security environment in place, right? In the case of your Liongard, you don't need to do just plug right in and go. That's the
Yeah.
way the industry had to shift. It can't shift to say you have to use this, this, and this because of business arrangement, not because of the integration of the technology and the risk signal. That actually got the entire room like, the blood pressure went up. And after we got a lot of interesting conversation because they started to understand, they go, wait a minute, maybe we are approaching in a very different lens. Because you got to remember that industry is a very mature space, right? It's probably mature than any technology space we've ever known. All of a sudden, they're going to get this massive disruption. And this technology is just not changing it's going to change the way they work. But now some of the bigger carriers are going to go, ooh, this is interesting. Maybe it's not a business deal. It is a technology and data point deal that let us really accurately underwrite the risk. Because today they do not, as much algorithm everybody has, there's no correlation between the actual risk that you collect from the integration to the actual the signal you collect to map the actual risk. Nobody have figured that magic out, right? But we're getting there. The industry you see that evolution for sure. And for those who figure it out, those who ensure will be around. For those who hasn't, probably won't be around.
Yeah. I mean, Carlson said the right keywords, right? It's risk. And Michelle, I mean, are there key takeaways that you would want to share in terms of how do you mitigate and manage risk? Because that is both on the MSP side, the insured side, the insurer, they're all having to deal with the risk level. And how do you take that risk down a bit?
I think it starts with you having standards and setting policies, and then building the tool stack. Obviously, I'm biased towards Liongard, but having something that's going to help you understand that attack surface, and be able to understand what are those, again, assets, software, users that are in that you have to protect, and then having a continuous monitoring capability that can
Yeah.
alert you when change or new vulnerabilities are happening. I mean, that is, I think, a cornerstone. If you've got that, then you're in a really good place to get. And then I think Cork, ultimately having a cyber warranty that helps protect you as the MSP to ensure you're going to get paid. When I can't tell you how many times when I was an MSP and something happened, it was like, did the client actually sign off that they're going to pay for this work but you feel like crippled. You have to go do something to get things going for them because you want to help your customer. So having a warranty policy in place, just frees you up, gives you peace of mind. So that would be my recommendation on how to get started.
Yeah, you have those places.
Yep.
Carlson?
I think, Michelle said it best, right? It's really being able to understand what that standard is, but more importantly, get started is make sure your managed service provider like Kerry, push them to help you to think about what that future looks like. And because at the end of the day, they're your business they're partner in crime, right? They help you to secure your digital perimeter.
Yeah, and as an MSP, I look at my partners just as well as I look at my clients. We're in a long-term relationship. Things are going to happen. How do we work through it? And of course, I'm partial to Liongard and Cork. So I have partners in them and I have valuable partners, and you develop business friendships. And I will tell all you MSPs as you develop your standards and start to stick with them. I know it's a little difficult to turn business away, but it's also as difficult to, watch a dwindling margin. So, but the goal of ShowTech, and we have a few managed customers that still do not have Cork or Liongard in place. We only have a few, but our goal in the next 3 months is to have everybody that's a managed client using both these products. Even if to sleep better at night, will do it as a lost leader for a year or whatever, but my clients will all be using this products.
That's fantastic to hear.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm going to
Great.
try to take this to any other parting words before I kind of take it to the close? No? All right. So before we go, I did want to share that there is a special offer that we have with Cork, Liongard and Cork together as a bundle for our new partners. You can get that for $119 and get our complete package, as well as up to $100,000 in coverage with Cork. It's an amazing offer. And if you are a current customer of Liongard, you can add Cork, as well as vice versa. If you're a Cork customer, add Liongard Complete to your protections for your partners and your end customers. If you'd like to learn more about this, please reach out to Carlson and Michelle, and we'll definitely have some contacts there on our website, and as well as ShowTech's domain there as well. You can visit and learn more about ShowTech solutions. We will also be at Rite of Boom and Exchange in the next couple of weeks. I believe Cork is going to be there as well. So if you happen to be in Las Vegas, come by and see us. And if you have questions, literally, Carlson and I will be there. We will be glad to talk. And the week after that, if you're also staying in Vegas for the rest of the week, Channel Futures is going on, and Michelle will be there. And you can find her at the Coaching Cafe and talking a little bit about AI in one of the presentations. It's great to have all of you here, Carlson, Carrie, and Michelle. Appreciate your time. Appreciate everybody taking a moment out of their day to join us. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks
Great.
all.
Have a great day.
Great
Thank
day.
you.
Bye.
Yeah. See y'all.